Good evening. Welcome to Eye in Bethel. I'm Paul Zetkowski, your host for tonight's program. Eye in Bethel usually finds the programming centering around politics, government, and tonight we're deviating from that format completely. We're going to talk about Bethel itself and perhaps its history. You know, many people have asked, we all know basically when Bethel was founded, about 1855. It was a community of about 77 homes at that time. We know that it was sort of important in the American Revolution. We had General Rochambeau coming through the area. And we know today we're surrounded by Danbury, Reading, Brookfield, and Newtown. We know that perhaps of the surrounding area, we've got the best school system in terms of a campus with its sports fields. We have two volunteer fire departments, a paid police department. And yet we're also governed by a board of selectmen and the people themselves at an annual town meeting. But what about the history of Bethel? We're fortunate to have tonight with us Pat Rist, who is the chairwoman or president of the Bethel Historical Society, and David Gesualdi,
Thank you.
Okay, a sculptor. We're going to talk about something which is unique Bethel. Pat, welcome to the program. David, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Paul.
Pat, tell us something. What's going on with the Historical Society?
All right, what we've been involved in over the past year and a half is we continue to conduct our children's walking tours of Bethel for all Bethel second graders. This is our 13th year that we've completed the tours. Mm-hmm. The year before last, we worked with the Bethel Middle School 7th grade gifted program. And the students identified important architectural structures in Bethel.
Oh, I'm sure that was exciting because you never really think about it. You say maybe that's an old home, eh?
No, it was very exciting, and they had to do all of the research and then turn that research into PowerPoints. And then they came to the Historical Society and presented their research to their parents and school officials.
How exciting, because basically you're really using not only research skills, but also learning how to use the computer too.
Exactly.
And making an official presentation.
It was very testing for them because they said as they worked through the process, they occasionally lost what they were working on and then they had to begin the process all over again. Yeah. We also do a lot of cemetery work. And we were fortunate enough to receive a Meserve grant for the cemetery between the First Congregational Church and the Second Meeting House. And we used that to put up a new fence line. Mm-hmm. And we also used it to sink a dry well because we had significant water runoff out into the cemetery and it was beginning to destroy the stones.
Yes, those stones are not permanent, we know that.
Exactly. So we worked with the church and we did sink a dry well. We also were able to get gardening equipment so that we could go into the back of the cemetery and clean out a lot of the overgrowth. And of course, we uncovered stones back in there that we knew were there. But over the years, everything had grown up over them. And I have to give an enormous amount of credit to Gary Bowden because that is Gary's forte, is working in the cemeteries and working on the stones. And he will actually go out there by himself and he will uncover, raise, and repair the stones. So we're gradually working from the back to the front of the old burying ground.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Sure can.
What's the oldest stone that you found so far?
Well, 1761 is the earliest burial in that cemetery.
Okay. And that's been identified too?
I'm not sure that it's been identified. I haven't read the entire inventory. Mm-hmm. But yes, 1761 was the first burial.
Historical.
And there's an interesting fact about that cemetery as well because anybody who walks by and takes a look at it, you'll notice all of the stones are in very straight rows. And toward the late 1800s, there was a neighbor who went over and decided to reestablish how the stones were sitting in the cemetery. So that's not exactly the way the cemetery was established, but it looks very neat and tidy right now. We also receive requests from people who no longer live in Bethel, but have ancestors buried here. And as an example, I received a request from a woman in Higganum. She's not been in Bethel for 25 years, but she has ancestors in Wolf Pit Cemetery. And she asked us to go up, find the stones, and take a look at the condition. And we did. We found 4 stones, and they were covered with a lot of algae and growth. And again, Gary Bowden went up there with all the correct cleaning supplies and cleaned the stones for this individual. So we did before and after pictures, and then we provided her with the history of Wolf Pit Cemetery. Those are some of the things that we do, and we couldn't do it without our members. And I'm going to read this because our members are so important to the Historical Society. And
Please do.
I don't want to miss anybody. Mary Ferry runs all of our children's programs, and the first Saturday of each month we do a historic craft with children about ages 4 to 8. John Reed is working on our website. Sandy Millsap does all of the cemetery research and inventorying for the old burial ground next to our building. Again, Gary Boughton does all the raising and repairing of our stones. And then we have Judy Novacek, Jerry Herman, Jeff Pagelson, Lillian Emmons, Molly Rollison, Chris Burke, and Mary Ellen Gaffney. And they all assist in whatever the Historical Society is involved in. And we couldn't do what we do without these dedicated people.